Imagine you don't have a phone anymore, but you live in the woods, a cabin in the woods by yourself with flowers and rabbits and bunnies, and having to take care of cattle and waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning and getting multiple missed calls and emails from your family members who you happen to abandon. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hi, my name is Zhariya Smith and I typically make commentary videos just like this one. So if you guys like that, you happen to just love my gorgeous and extremely tired face, make sure to subscribe down below and hit the notification bell to get notified every single time I post, which happens to be on Mondays and on Fridays. And if I seem very low energy, I got in a car accident a couple days ago. I have a video about it that I posted on Friday. Anyways, in today's video, we're going to be talking about the rise of cottagecore. As you guys know, as I say multiple times, I'm a frequenter on the app TikTok. I've been on pretty much every single side of TikTok you can imagine, and there was a brief moment where I was on Cottagecore TikTok, and I was also a Tumblr user, and I still have my Tumblr account. Don't go and look for it, but I saw Cottagecore on Tumblr a lot my, sophomore and junior year. I think also freshman year as well on TikTok, on Tumblr, so it was weird for me to see it kind of have a resurgence. So let's talk about it. So what is cottagecore? Well, Google describes cottagecore as an aesthetic that idealizes elements of a pastoral life, like growing plants, raising animals, or baking bread, I guess. This trend has honestly been having a rise since January. But it is also very popular right now because of social distancing, even though some people like to act that that's not happening. Insider describes cottagecore as an aesthetic movement that draws together all of the best parts of going off and living in a cabin in the woods. It's a glimpse into a simple existence, one where fruit is always fresh, air is always clean, and technology is always out of sight, and no one can ping you in woodland paradise. And more on cottagecore is just that the aesthetic in general is inspired by, it's honest, like a romanticized interpretation of Western agricultural life. It's centered on ideas about, a simple life, harmony with animals and nature in that manner. And it's also associated with themes of surviving in the environment, being self-serving, being able to, find food and care for people. So that is cottagecore in general. Let's talk about now the beginning of cottagecore, which might be kind of funny for some people because honestly, cottagecore started in the 1800s when that was the normal for people, but cottagecore has been introduced, I would say, in about 2017 was where I started seeing cottagecore stuff pop up. And a TikToker by the name of Sora Blue, she lives a cottagecore lifestyle, and she's been posting about that. And it started getting attention in December of 2019. But we'll get into that later. And you might be asking yourself, well, why do people like cottagecore? You probably like technology. You probably love, indoors, not having to deal with bugs, goats, milking cows. But some people say that the cottagecore universe is honestly very, relieving. And in that universe, there is no outside world making you have responsibilities, which is a form of escapism. But the only labor that is in cottagecore is domestic labor, and your daily task is supposed to be something that makes you happy. So let's say you have a company where you bake pies and you live in your little cottage in the middle of whatever. You make your pies for a living and then you just go about your day. One person said that we all need to escape our reality at some time. Some people have video games, others have YouTube or Netflix, and some people have cottagecore. They daydream about a life where, a crisis is no longer happening. You're just in your cute little cabin or cottage, living a sustainable life that's good for you and your friends and family. You're not being attacked by the outside world as a whole. You're more so just like your own little person and your own little thing. And isolation can sometimes be good for people. Realizing that you have, because obviously with, the pandemic that's happening right now, isolation sucks. I have not hung out with anyone for 6 months. Well, more than 6 months, but before then it was like my own choice. I haven't hung out with anyone in 6 months. Forced isolation is different than invited isolation, if that makes sense. So people seem that they have control and they can't isolate themselves without, being forced to. That's very appealing to some people. But the main thing is that just like any other entertainment source that you may have, some people, their entertainment outlet is cottagecore. Let's talk about its popularity on TikTok and the kind of resurgence that it has had. Like I said, the TikTok username Sora Blue posted a video about her cottagecore lifestyle on TikTok, and it gained a lot of traction. I'll see if I can include the clip if it's still up. I don't remember. But she talks about, her life living in a canvas built tent, a 24-foot RV on 5 acres in Long Beach Peninsula in Washington, I think. And she kind of lives in the woods almost. Now, while this is cute and fun and dandy for her, she kind of, promotes technology-free world, but she still lives on her phone, obviously. And it has a romanticism that is kind of contradictory, because cottagecore is kind of the exact opposite of our society as a whole, I would say. And people then saw this and got very jealous of it, and then the cottagecore trend kind of skyrocketed. And as there are many amazing things about cottagecore that I'm going to get into, let's talk about some problems with cottagecore, because I think it's important to put the negative first and then the positive so that you feel a little bit better towards the end of it. But the problem with cottagecore is that, minimalism is good for some people, but cottagecore kind of promotes an unrealistic depiction of what, cottage life is, or farm life is for that matter. It's very filtered to perfection. It's made for people to think like, oh, this is amazing, this is so great, when in reality, have you ever milked a cow before? It just feels wrong. And, watching animals is not glorious at all. Having to tend to a farm is not fun. And I read this blog by Sarah Kavar, and she said that she followed over 600 animal accounts, and she was very interested in the cottagecore life. And then when she finally went to a farm and visited it with her partner, she then realized that the life that she thought that she wanted was not a life I shouldn't say worth living, because obviously she's still alive, but I mean like a lifestyle that she didn't want to adopt. Yes. Also, another bad thing about cottagecore is that it generally does promote escapism. Now, escapism is the tendency to seek a distraction and relief from unpleasant realities, especially by seeking an entertainment or engaging in fantasy. Now, the fantasy / entertainment would be cottagecore. Now, I do think that it is nice for some people to, have, hobbies, things that they like to do. But aside from that, escapism is not really good for most people. And it also promotes the romanticism of the Eurocentric, farming life, which, it's one of those things where I don't know if this is actually racist, but it feels racist, which is kind of cottagecore. But it's in context of North American and Australian settings, and it honestly promotes aesthetics of colonialism and simplifies the actual life of actual farmers and people who have laborious jobs, who get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and tend to their chickens and goats and cows and horses and all that stuff. It's not just baking pies and taking pictures of moss, even though it may seem like, oh, it's so cute, glitz and glam, and obviously I'll show some pictures. But so think about that when you're looking at these aesthetics, is that some of them are they're not as good as you may possibly think that they are. And now we're going to get into the positives of cottagecore. Isn't that great? So these are some testimonies from different people, so I am going to be reading them off. I'm sorry if you see me looking away a lot. It's because I'll be reading off their quotes because I don't want to get them wrong. But one person says, this woman is Miss Craft. She says that while cottagecore could easily be mistaken for an escapist fantasy, its proponents insist it is a form of self-care. She said her interest in cottagecore stems from a desire to self-soothe. She says it's relieving to come home from a hard day and to look at these nice pictures of things that you may not have, that you may never have. It gives you a sense of belongingness. So in this essence, cottagecore for her, she's not actually living the life, but she's looking at, things. So that's one way that this woman embraces cottagecore. Now, this person named Phoenix Tweety, before I start, I do want to say that the story does involve trigger warning for, I don't know how to, a thing that happens in a lot of American schools that involves a certain type of weapon that fires bullets. I don't want to trigger anyone. But this story involves that in a school setting, so if that bothers you, I will put up a timestamp that you can skip this little section. But this woman named Phoenix Tweety says that she discovered cottagecore about 5 years after a school that she was involved in. And this was at Reynolds High School, and one of her classmates did end up passing. And this happened in 2014. She then dropped out of high school and said that she tried many different therapies, many different medications and treatment plans to, treat her, trauma, essentially, after dealing with that. And then she finally found cottagecore and it clicked for her. She said that instead of sleeping all day, she would try to go bake something or go for a walk and look at flowers. So that's something really positive, Some people see it as a life. Some people see it as like, a cute little thing. And next we have a woman named Miss Hens. She suffers from a chronic illness, which makes it hard to hold a regular job down. She supports herself by selling barnacle-themed ceramics and also earns money through Patreon, where she gets monthly donations from fans to help cover the expenses for her wonder-based events. I'll look into that. It's kind of cool. But it's hosting affords dinner parties to strangers who stumble across an invitation in the woods. So these are some positives to cottagecore. There are some people who genuinely embrace the lifestyle. They love to live it. They feel great about it. And, who are you to say don't do that, But overall, I would say that cottagecore is something that's still relatively new, but also old because people lived like that in the 1800s. People also live like that now. But I would say in general, cottagecore is just one of those really weird, niche-y things. And it's very interesting. So if you guys are interested in, cottagecore, you want some more information on it, I have some of my sources that I linked down below if you'd like to, read some of the stuff that I found on cottagecore. And yeah, so I hope you guys liked this video. And if you did, make sure to give it a big thumbs up because it really helps small channels like mine. Make sure to also subscribe. And make sure to stay happy and stay healthy. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.